welcome to the Gamers Den. I'm your host, David Fenter, and on my left, I've got my homies, Jared, Garth, and David. How's it going, guys?
Hey, guys.
We're going to be discussing a bit of a controversial topic today. It doesn't involve beers, but it does involve pricing of games. Guys, how do we feel about that? Where are we at the moment?
Free games for everyone.
Yeah!
The end of time!
Discussion over.
Does that mean Sony wins again?
That's a good point.
Guys, well, let's look at it. Over the last few years, there has been small increases in the gaming. But if you go back a few years, let's say about 10 years, it actually hasn't jumped up that much. And people think it has. I mean, I remember paying 700 Rand for Hitman 2 and 700 Rand for Tekken 4, which Tekken 4 was a terrible game, so that was like a big waste of money. And then the Rand dropped, it improved rather to the dollar and the pound, and suddenly it dropped with it, you know. So distributors are on these tough areas where they have to increase the price, but at the end of the day, you know, it affects us.
Look at the margins that the games are increasing by, though. Going back to what you were saying, I remember paying 450 Rand for Super Street Fighter 2 on the SNES.
Yes.
Now, sure, yeah, it's expensive, but up until recently, you've been having some games retail at 500 Rand, 600 Rand, which isn't much. And look at the timeline, it's not that crazy. So, yeah, now that games are finally up to 800 to 900 Rand, maybe 1,000 Rand, looking at it over time, yeah, maybe it's not such a bad thing.
I think the big argument, which will come from our viewers as well, is the fact now with next gen, there's suddenly been a jump in price. Now, it's not the distributor's fault locally. This is an international, global trend. Do you think it's worth it? Because at the end of the day, developers are spending more time on games. You know, it's taking longer to develop those games, bigger teams, etc.
I think we all got a story about older games, but I mean the same. I remember paying 1,200 Rand for Unreal Tournament and a multi-tap on my PS2.
What?
Yeah, and it was coming out that week, and for my birthday,
Yeah.
and I got some cash, saved it up, and spent it all on that. And that was one game and a multi-tap, and that must be about over 10 years ago. I was still in school, so it's
money
definitely
back
over
then,
10 years ago. But it was a lot of money, so you know, the game's pricing has gone up and down.
Yeah.
You know, it is, I mean, if you look at the Rand now, it's a joke.
Yeah.
So it's understandable. If you convert from the UK prices for games, we're not more expensive, it's around the same. We might even be
Some
a little
cases
bit
cheaper, yeah. I've actually seen some cases where actually cheaper.
So I think there's that. Also, an interesting perspective or thing to look at, which I was wondering about. If you look at Nintendo games, for example, they're usually a little bit cheaper, right? About 600, you know, maybe a bit more, but they never come down in price.
That's
So
got that,
is
that's
that-
got
is
the
that-
evergreen scenario
So
going.
is that a model to follow? So you have the slightly more slightly cheaper game, never comes down in price, but you get the games that come out at 800, 900 Rand, but after like a year, it's cheaper.
Well, when you say never come down in price, it doesn't come down in price as quickly as the other games come down.
I saw Super Smash Bros. The classics version is 400 Rand.
Is it priced at that?
Priced at
The classics are priced at
400
400.
Rand. 399. Sorry, just less than 400 Rand.
Because I know the previous classics range was
250.
Yeah.
They're
So
400.
okay, all right.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, that's a HAL game and it's still 400 Rand. Look at Mario Kart on DS, that's still 400 Rand.
Yeah.
That's about 10 years old.
But guys, let's throw more into this equation. Now we got games like The Last of Us, just as an example. That's a remastered game that was out a year ago, and we're going to pay for it again.
Yeah.
Yes, the graphics are a bit better, but at the end of the day, are you actually going to spend the money on that?
You get the DLC though. You get the DLC. So
But what for those
Does
who
that
really
make
bought
it
the
worth
DLC?
it? Yeah.
I think that there are a couple of things with The Last of Us. First of all, I mean, the game came out a year ago and they're making a remake, which is a bit crazy, but they have offered people a discount if you own the, well, they say they're going
Is
to offer
that
people-
official?
So that's not official,
Okay.
sorry. They say they're going to offer a discount for people that own it on PS3 already,
See.
which is a great way to do it, because if you've bought it already, here's the better version for a
Incentivize
bit
you
cheaper.
to-
That's the way
If
to
you
do
don't
it.
have it, then well, then you should be paying
Yeah,
the
you
price.
should be paying.
Because they've still worked really hard on the new version. I mean, a lot of it they've said they've had to do from scratch, and they have to work with the new system. So it's
Character
they
models.
haven't cut away their team. It's still, you know, everyone's still working. They've got salaries to pay. I can understand it still being full price for people that haven't bought it.
In the end, it's a business. It's not a charity. It's you know.
No, look, I think we all understand it. I mean, we are part of that business. I mean, we have to be paid in the days of games when we talk about games. But
All of them. Pay full price for all games.
Full price.
No free games ever.
But I mean, at the end of it, you got people who are youngsters. Okay, they're in varsity.
Yeah.
They might be earning just enough to make a bar, just enough to buy their beer. Now they still have to buy a game. So they work on those specials.
Please be over 18 when you purchase alcohol.
Okay.
Most cases.
But I mean, let's be realistic about it. I mean, we're in a situation, guys, where we are all working. We got full-time jobs of some sort, and we can afford our games. What about those guys, the youngsters? How do they deal with it? I mean, if I had to go back in time when I was a youngster, I did some stupid things. You know, I'm not going to mention it on camera, but you know, to get my games, I made a plan.
Now I'm curious.
So, I mean, how do they go about it these days?
Well, I'll tell you what they might do, and that is they might buy a PC. Okay, they might join the master race because PC games. I don't know if you guys have noticed. Watch Dogs.
Sorry, before you go on, let me just ask you.
I prepared myself.
Before we discussed what they might do about PC games, remember the game we were talking about? That was called The Last of Us.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
The Last of Us is coming out.
Yeah.
What must the PC gamer do?
You see, okay.
Oh,
Okay, wait. Let me finish.
No. Let's wait for GTA 5 to be 4 years old before.
No.
Okay, carry on.
Let me carry on. So, I mean, Watch Dogs is like, well, I think it's retailing for $499, which is almost half the price of what it's going to retail on the PS4 for. That's a huge saving for a guy that doesn't have a lot of bucks, and it's going to look better because you know obviously PCs are more powerful. But and you couple that with Steam sales where you pay like $100 for games that are like 6, 7
years old.
Year old.
For sure.
Look, most of you know, the viewers would know too, I'm a big console fan. However, you got to look at Steam and take it seriously. Those Humble Bundles,
Damn stretchy.
I mean, they've smacked everything out of the park. PSN comes with their sales, and they're good, but they're nowhere near those Humble Bundles.
Yeah.
However, it's always been a balance over all the years that's gone by since the PS1 right through even SNES days. PC, it's like you got to upgrade your hardware to keep up with things.
Okay, yeah.
So that's where the balance
Yeah.
I feel comes in. If you want to keep up with next year's or this year's Call of Duty and the following year's Battlefield or whatever, you're going to upgrade your hardware. Where for 5 years to 7
Yeah,
years, we sorted.
That's the drawback of
So
PC.
I think it always balances itself out every time. But those Steam sales, big deal.
Oh, great deal.
When you're upgrading this 486 of yours.
Is it? You have no idea what I was talking about. This beast. Anyway.
I think I'm more impressed that you know about a 486.
Yeah, I'm also impressed. Very nice.
I was gonna say, is it an airplane?
Boeing 486. Boeing 486. Yes.
So guys, I mean, so you're saying that if you're a student gamer, let's say, it's to go with PC.
PC
That's
might
the
be
way to go.
the more financially, the cheaper route to go for PC. Alright.
Also keep in mind, as far as the PCs go, a lot of the game companies have the classics titles out there. I mean, we were talking about the console ones, but I mean, I'm sure many people buy the classic PC titles, which are quite old, but they're between 30 and 60 rand. I mean, that's all right. It's not too bad. If you don't have the money to spend, there's an option for you.
Here's my opinion on the twofold situation. One,
Moving on.
if you can't afford it, you can't get it. It's as simple as that, or you wait for it to get cheaper. And I think that these new modules coming out, starting with PS Plus, and Microsoft seem to be improving the games for gold. So you can say, well, you've bought this machine, I can't afford a game every month for 800, 900 rand, but I'm happy to pay 500 rand for a year and get free games. You know, even
Well,
if it's just,
free.
Well, I mean they're not free because you're paying.
Look, you get
500
your
rand.
value back within the first month.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's a way to do it. So if I was a gamer and I was in a situation where I couldn't afford to buy new games all the time, I'd kind of be happy to pay that for the year and get 1 or 2 free games a month. It's the way to,
But what I would like to know, because we've been told that when it comes to digital sales locally, the distributors aren't involved, they get nothing back from it. So something like PlayStation Plus and Games for Gold doesn't really assist our local market, which is great for the gamers. I mean, I'm sure we all agree with that. However, when it comes to retail copies at the shops, at the BT Games, Musica, Look and Listens, and so forth. It doesn't help us locally.
It doesn't help the market locally, but it is an option for people. So if you're saying, you know, what are they supposed to do about games? They do have options. It's not like they're without options, they can't do anything about it.
But isn't it going to become an issue when guys are buying digitally a price they're going to get a...
I think it's slowly but surely it's turning that way. I mean, let's be honest, not so long ago, I mean, there's no more PC Format magazine, but there's still Gear Digital, and we are now allowed digital. It's happening with retail as well. Everything that's physical is becoming an issue.
It might not happen within the near future, but it's happening.
It's going to happen.
Yeah.
I think it's
No,
definitely
no digital.
Yeah, don't go take away my
Not a
physical
fan.
copies.
Not a fan.
And while we're on the whole digital and sort of retail copies, or the physical retail copies, if you had to get something, let's say for 100 Rand digital, compared to 100 Rand in-store physical copy, what would you go for?
Physical.
Yeah. So it shows you it's
No.
still got that value to it compared to a digital copy.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So what we've come down to at the end of the day is basically that pricing digital is great, but you still want your cheap retail version, so be sure to support the retail market. It's good for our local market in South Africa for the gaming community.
I think I must just mention, because I had a chat with what's his name that joined us on the show a few weeks ago.
At random.
Yeah, what was his name?
Devs.
Yeah,
I
whatever.
think it was another
Jebediah rings a bell.
I enforced it or something like that.
But we're just saying, because there's a perception out there that if you look on PSN, the digital games are really expensive. They're not. Then you think, well, there's no hard copy, they're not importing it, why is it so expensive? And I know I've seen a lot of guys, a lot of our readers or people that I interact with on Twitter saying that, you know, why is it so expensive? Why are the distributors locally making the digital games so expensive? You know, they probably want people to buy the hard copies because they're bringing it in, it's a loss. But I discussed with him and he says that the local distributors don't set that price. That's set by the publishers. So they're actually making no money off digital sales at all. Which, you know, again, that, as you're saying, go out and buy the hard copies because they're around the same price, if not cheaper at the moment, which, you know,
In a lot of cases, they are cheaper.
It should be.
And let's be honest, in the country that we are, unless it's an account that you have like Steam or PSN, if your console gets stolen, there goes your game.
There goes your game.
You know, where at least you got your physical game, you can buy another one.
And you can trade it in.
Yeah.
You can get some.
You can actually trade it.
the
That's
game.
cool.
Yeah.
Now, I was actually thinking it's going to be pretty cool in the next gen in some form in terms of the whole digital thing.
Yeah.
If you buy someone's second-hand console, it might come with a whole bunch of games.
Yeah. A whole library. Yeah.
Anyway.
So,
Guys, thank you very much for joining us. That's it for this episode. In the next episode, we will likely be discussing what happened at E3, so be sure to join us then. Thanks, cheers.
cheers.